Welcome back to the House Environment Committee. We are going to shift gears and have a committee discussion on H 652, an act relating to wastewater discharges from landfills. We took a fair amount of testimony on this topic, and as recently as yesterday, Matt Chapman joined us to clarify the agency's position on it. And I guess I thought it would be helpful for us to have a discussion about where folks stand on this bill. Anyone want to start?
I'll be glad to start. Representative Larry Laker. Coming from the Northeast Kingdom, we have been the depository for the state's waste for quite a few years, which has contributed to the formation of leachate that contains PFAS. Very elevated parts per trillion. The lake has been tested by 2 countries because Lake Memphremagog extends 21 miles into Canada. It's an international body of water. And over 175, depending upon whose data you read, between 175 and 185,000 Canadians in the province of Quebec use this source for their drinking water. They closed their landfill upon that land and moved it to a different part of their province. But we didn't. And our PFAS showing up mid-lake at 2.8 parts per trillion. As you heard from ANR, they have not set the boundaries. We know EPA, federal, is 4 parts per trillion. That came down from 20 parts per trillion. Are they going to readjust it? I have no idea what's going on in Washington. But we should be able to control what we do with ours. So that's the genesis of the bill, is actually for public safety on both sides of the border. And the way we can accomplish that, we feel, is to, this is not a war against Casella. I want to make that perfectly clear. This is a war against contamination. We simply want to make sure that leachate does not have that municipalities, whatever, we can't control, but we can try to control the watershed. So this isn't about dumping just into Lake Memphremagog. This is to control the watershed that goes into Lake Memphremagog. And the only way we can control that is to make sure that no leachate is dumped that has treated or untreated into the watershed area that goes to Memphremagog. I've been to Casella repeatedly because some of my constituents said, well, they're doing this, they're doing that. I go up and I talk to the water quality manager that we met, Nikolai, and I've talked to Jeremy Larrabee, and he's the head engineer up there that oversees Casella's mountain. And I call it a mountain. If you ever go up there, you will see what I'm talking about. It's really an injustice for our Northeast Kingdom to have the biggest and own landfill in the state of Vermont, when our whole top population in our area can only contribute 7%. 93% comes from away. That's an injustice, needs to change. So this is a small request for a change.
Other thoughts, Representative Sakowicz?
Yeah, I agree that PFAS in water is a terrible problem. Something that I also really deeply care about. It's a horrible poison in our environment, and we need to be doing whatever we can to remove it, and more importantly, to prevent it from entering our waters and food supply, and et cetera. So it's going to be the task of a generation or more, probably. My understanding is that leachate is not now going into the watershed, that leachate is all trucked from Coventry to either Montpelier or is it
That's perfect.
Plattsburgh? That's right. So where I understand wanting to keep leachate out of Lake Memphremagog, that makes a lot of sense, but it seems like that's what we are already doing. So I've been a little confused about what the bill is actually, what problem it's actually solving. And maybe I've got that wrong, and I'm missing something. But it seems like we want our bills to solve a problem, and I'm not sure this is doing that.
Representative Levy.
I, after the presentation, I guess it was last week, something came to me, and it was after we were done. The landfill that's closed, it was closed in Quebec, I think you said.
Yes.
Are they utilizing a similar filtration system like Casella is using for the leachate that's coming out of that?
I asked that
Landfill.
question.
I don't.
We don't know.
Okay.
And they moved it away from the watershed. It's interior from the city of Bangkok. So
The new landfill, correct?
correct.
Okay, I'm talking about the one that's there. It's still, I imagine it's capped, but I'm curious what, if anything, is done to filter
LEJ.
that leachate.
Right.
That water flows north.
I have that question too.
Okay.
What are they doing? And it did also come up that there's 6 other landfills in our state that could ultimately benefit from this technology that Casella's, working on at Coventry that have to deal with leachate too. So there's other leachate coming out of closed landfills in Vermont that's going to treatment plants and not being treated.
Not being treated. Okay.
So we know about this one because it's active and has a community of people engaged about it, but others we know less. I know less about. Representative Pritchard.
Yeah, so I think I agree with Larry. I think we're concerned of it, and everybody has that concern. But what I'm trying to really understand, Representative Labor is how does this bill address that? And I think Larry makes a good point. I guess has the source of the 2.7 parts per trillion, has that even been identified where it's coming from? Has it been identified that leachate is escaping the Casella facility? Is it somehow out of compliance? I would just feel a lot better if I knew that, because at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is preserve your Lake Memphremagog, and I think everybody wants to do that, but as Representative Sakowicz said, how does this bill accomplish that? How does it accomplish that? So that's what I guess I want to try to understand.
I think our entire area wants to understand that, because Casella has brought in over $1 million piece of equipment from a distributor. And they've run leachate through it, and it has greatly reduced the concentration. And they're taking that And they're putting it, mixing it with cement and putting it in blocks and putting it in the landfill. That's fine for a temporary. But it's not taking it all out. So you still see the trucks. We're spewing diesel into the air to get that leachate out of the kingdom, to bring it to Montpelier and to bring it to Plattsburgh. That's the only way we can stop it right now. And Casella's been waiting for permits forever to try other technology. So part of it's our own fault, different agencies. Permitting process.
Representative North.
Yeah, so I'm trying to ask this, I don't feel like we got an answer to the question still, yeah.
We don't have a solution.
No.
Our only solution is to stop making sure going forward.
That's not the question. The question is, what are we expecting to change if we pass this bill? What are you looking to have changed by, specifically by this bill, the way it's worked?
Going forward.
Going forward, what are you looking to have changed? What is the, who's gonna do something differently if this bill passes? Is anybody gonna do anything differently when this bill passes?
Technology changes.
I'll take that as a no, I guess.
No.
I can't get an answer to the question, so.
Representative Sapp.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing from Representative Labor is that he would like to see the development of new technologies that would do a better job of removing PFAS from the leachate and not have to truck this stuff all over the place or put it back into the landfill in the form of
Right.
concrete blocks. And I think that sounds like a wonderful idea. It makes me wonder, though, whether this bill would actually make that harder rather than easier, because the bill is saying no person shall discharge leachate from a landfill, blah, 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 into Lake Memphremagog, regardless of whether the leachate's been treated or untreated. So it would seem like under that language, we would not have the option of coming up with a system which did like maybe we can develop a system that removes all the PFAS. And now we have leachate, which is PFAS free, and we could discharge the clean water from that process into the lake because it would cause no harm. This bill would prohibit that activity.
Representative North.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, my other concern with the bill, just the way it's written, is first sentence talks about leachate, and the second sentence talks about PFAS. Which is it are we trying to address? It's because leachate is a much bigger category of contaminants than just PFAS.
Correct.
But which is it we're talking about?
Both. Because the leachate that they're treating right now at the plant is only addressing the top 5 out of the 1,400
What
PFAS.
about mercury or other heavy metals or
They're already,
biotoxins or whatever? So the second sentence then says the prohibition on the discharge of PFAS. Where is that? Where is the prohibition on the discharge of PFAS? The first sentence didn't say anything about the discharge of PFAS.
Where are you on the bill?
I mean, at the very bottom of page of 5 on to page 6, or sub K sub 1. Very bottom of page 5. First sentence, no person shall discharge leachate from a landfill or solid waste management facility into the water within Lake Magog watershed, regardless of whether leachate has been treated or untreated. Second sentence, the prohibition on the discharge of PFAS into the water. Well, where is the definition of the prohibition of?
So I
discharge
think
of
maybe
PFAS?
that's a reference to the permit that they're operating under right now, because it is a prohibition under the permits that they have today. Maybe that's where that language, I don't know, but
Yeah.
maybe that's where it comes from.
It seems like we just suddenly shifted what we were talking about. We're talking about leachate, and then all of a sudden we're talking about PFAS. But then at the end of that second sentence, it goes back to talking about transfer of leachate. I'm just having trouble understanding.
because
What's
the
the bill trying
leachate
to
that
get
they're
at?
transferring is containing the
From a
PFAS.
landfill or solid waste management facility.
Okay, yeah, I fully accept that.
Now, Montpelier is further treating it, or Plattsburgh is further treating it. I have no idea what they're doing with it. I suspect Montpelier is probably discharging their treated waste into the Winooski River.
They said that.
Oh, they are. And
Yeah.
I mean, that the sort of point is that this treated leachate is way better than even the
Oh, yeah.
other effluent that's being treated from municipal waste in that, which is and I,
When you say way better, do you mean what, cleaner?
well, less PFAS.
Okay.
We have those other contaminants, which
Right.
we haven't really been talking about,
Yeah.
that may be very particular to landfill waste.
Yes.
I think I want to follow up on something Representative Sakowicz just said, which I think is intriguing, and it's in this language here that you've drawn our attention to. Would this have an unintended consequence of kind of slowing down the process of treating of the waste? We have landfills around the state that are sending leachate to our treatment plants that is less treated than this.
What specific verbiage are you looking at?
I've lost but
The very end of at the very bottom of page 5.
Okay.
That sentence, it starts with K1.
Okay.
that's it,
A
Rob.
person shall discharge blah, 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 watershed regardless of whether the leachate has been treated or is untreated. In other words, doesn't matter what cool technology you come up with, you still can't discharge.
Right, so it could be the
Whatever it was.
cleanest, that's it, that's the language, and that's like, could be even cleaner, could be potable. Maybe they
Right.
get to a technology that's way better than
Yeah.
what we have today. And you still couldn't discharge it, this. Representative Morris.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. When I asked the question of Matt when he was in about discharge leachate, I said, does that include discharging it in a truck to be located elsewhere? In this bill, under that K sub 1, if you can't discharge it if it's been treated or untreated, and you can't transfer it. What are we doing? That's what it's saying there.
You can't transfer it within the Lake Memphremagog watershed.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
Couldn't put it in another,
Prohibition on the transfer of leachate to a wastewater treatment facility in Vermont, something that's just within the Lake Memphremagog watershed. So you can transfer it outside, you can transfer it to Lake Champlain or Winooski River, it's all fine.
Hmm.
And Matt did say that what they're discharging after the post-treatment is cleaner than most wastewater. You mentioned that earlier. Cleaner than what I'm discharging, is what we're discharging in Springfield from our wastewater facility.
yeah, so it also maybe leads to, so I have a little list of buckets that this committee has almost unanimously agreed to wanting to talk about. And one of them is permits, and Matt brought up the bill for the research and development permit. Maybe that's one we should get introduced, and from last session, 1-something,
152,
150
that's what I
something,
remember.
2, 159, 52. But anyway, we'll find it. Oh, right there at the top of toxin. 52, maybe.
Third row over, yeah.
So maybe we have that conversation. That's what this could lead us into, and then we'll learn more about what they're asking for and the need for that to move.
Sounds like that's what Representative Labor is really asking for with this, and trying to get to the root of the question, what are you trying to expect to change here is this new technology. So here, let's get something new and better that.
Is that Michael O'Grady's bill? 52?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That satisfactory to folks on this topic, or? I do feel like this is an environmental justice issue, and that the way we are maybe right now is the best we can do with the tools we have, but that we need to deal with this waste, not just from Coventry, but from other landfills in the state. So thinking like, where are we trying to get to and how do we get there?
I just don't think the wording in this bill accomplishes what you're trying to do. I guess that's. Yeah, here.
Okay. Further thoughts before we adjourn for the morning?